Yeah, this Cassidy the Hustler. Shout out Mikey T, the movie star. We on a report card radio. Stay tuned in, man. You already know how he carry it. Easy.
On June 9th, an arrest warrant was issued for you on charges of murder, attempted murder, reckless endangerment, among other things. You ended up surrendering yourself on June 17th. How did you go so long until actually turning yourself in?
That's so long ago. I don't know. I don't even remember. And I was doing my thing. Like, I had an album about to drop. So I was moving around at the time, and I didn't even understand. I didn't even know I had a warrant. I found out I had a warrant when I was in Sony's studio. I was working in Sony's studio. I had a session, and I looked on the computer that was in Sony's studio, and it was on one of them, like MTV.com or some shit. One of them, like, shits from back in the day. But they had it posted up there that I had a warrant and all of this stuff for my arrest and all that stuff. But I didn't even know I had a warrant. So it wasn't like I was running from the warrant. I didn't even know it was a situation.
What do you remember about the days leading into turning yourself in?
And I found out that I had a warrant. I'm not going to just like go to a show and let them just run down on me. So I got with my lawyers and all of that, and they arranged for me to set a date to turn myself in, but not have to go through like questioning, or like if a regular cop find you and he questioning you or doing whatever, like, nah, you take him straight in. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's no questioning, no nothing. He goes straight to jail, and we deal with it like that. Because I had my whole legal team set it up and do it the right way. So once I found out I had the warrant, I got with my lawyers, and they started putting the plan together. So I was just waiting for them to tell me when I had to turn myself in and when the time was right.
So, Cass, on June 17th, you turned yourself in. June 18th, your bail was denied. Do you remember how much bail was being proposed for?
Well, the first time I went to court, I didn't have a preliminary hearing, but the judge still gave me bail. She gave me bail for $500,000, but they appealed it because I didn't even have a preliminary hearing yet, and you can't do that. That's like illegal. So they overturned it, and I wasn't able to place bail in. So that's probably that first date you're talking about. Then they set up my preliminary hearing. I had the preliminary hearing. The degree level of the murder was important to determine the bail. Like whether you could get bail, because in Philadelphia, if you charge with like first degree murder, you can't get bail unless, like, you know what I mean, the prosecution just give it to you, or they come up with some special plan, but you can never get bail. Only if it's like third degree murder or involuntary manslaughter, what it could have possibly been. So they gave me another bail. They set for the murder, they set it for $2.5 million. And then they set it at $200,000 for each attempted murder. So it was $2.9 million. But they gave the prosecution 30 days to appeal. And I had to stay in jail for that 30 days until they appealed this bail that they gave me. So right. You know what the did? They waited to the 30th day, and then they appealed it. And the reason why they returned the bail was because they said that even though, like, I think they lowered it to third degree murder, but they said even though it could be third degree murder, it could still be this, it could still be that. So they had to make it go back to in general murder, all of that. And when they made it go back to that, I couldn't get the bail. I couldn't pay the bail that the $2.9 million that they presented. I couldn't do it. So I had to sit until trial. So that's why I wanted to get a speedy trial. So I forced my lawyers to get a speedy trial. I ain't want nobody else locked up. I ain't want nothing else to happen. I wanted to just get my shit over with. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it went down.
That's right. So your bail was denied. And like you said, you were forced to spend another 30 days in jail. So that meant you were going to spend your birthday in jail at that point, Cassidy. So I wanted to ask, how was your experience in jail on your birthday, nearly at the height of your career?
I barely celebrate birthdays like that anyway. So in there, it probably was just a normal day to me. You know what I'm saying? But it probably added to the stress the fact that you're not out. You know what I mean? But I already facing so much trauma that it's like I don't even remember what I did for my birthday at that time. I don't even remember, man. I don't even remember my birthday when I was locked up.
Yeah, that just struck me because I saw that your birthday was July 7th, and then I was like, wow. And I was reading this information.
I was more mad because I got locked up a couple weeks before my album I'm a Hustler dropped. So I was more mad that my album and a lot of the business that I had set up was passing by and I wasn't able to meet that and do that. I was more concerned about missing those things than, you know what I mean, the birthday. But maybe when I did realize it was my birthday and I wasn't out, it did add to the fact, like, you know what I mean, you probably felt even fucking worse. Like,
You probably couldn't smoke. I see you like to smoke.
for sure.
You know what I mean? But Cass, just so we can move on from it, could you tell me what charges you ultimately had to take on your record and how much time you ultimately had to serve?
8.5 butts. I did 8.5 butts at the county. I got involuntary manslaughter and aggravated assault. I think was my charges. And I had to do the 8.5 months, and then I got 10 years of probation.
Damn, that's crazy for a man at the height of his career, Billboard charting records. Now, like, you must at this point had at least 4 Billboard charting records, if I'm not mistaken, and then taken from the height of your career and thrown into a cell for 8 months, basically draining out your career so you weren't as popular when you came out.
Yeah, and my bank account. It's like that was the time that I was going, like, the first album is when you learning the business, when you just situating yourself, when you proving yourself. So this was my second album, which people thought, like, it's hard to do it again. Like, maybe you get lucky the first time, but the second album, and for the second album to be even harder than the first one is, like, kind of hard to do.
Right.
So I created that. And even I'm a Hustler was the first platinum ringtone. It was selling. It was going crazy. And if I was out to actually promote it and do a lot of the tricks and the things that we had set up, it would have been even bigger than that.
Your third album would have been a lot bigger if you had been able to do the promotion for your second album, if you hadn't been taken away.
For sure. And another thing was the timing. When this thing happened to me, like if it would have maybe happened nowadays, it could have even been beneficial. I would have maybe even been able to get my story out more. More people would have understood what I was going through and how I carried it. It would have been more publicized now, more ways for people to understand what I was dealing with and going through. But back then, it was harder to find out information. So everybody that was fans wasn't even familiar with what I went through. With the jail situation or the accident, a lot of people wasn't even sure. And then even people that heard I went through the accident heard I died. Some people still thought I was locked up. I never got out of jail. So it was like a lot of confusion. So that's the reason why the third album ain't go as smooth as possible, because there was a lot of confusion. And then when you did hear the music, it wasn't the exact same music from I'm a Hustler, Split Personality. I was in a different bag. But if you would have understood what I went through, if they would have painted the picture and people would have seen the story, it would have made sense. But it was like confusion because I don't think the masses understood what I was dealing with and going through at the time. And even to this day, like I still be posting shit to this day and people still figuring out a lot of pieces of the puzzle to this day. It's just hard to put it all together. A lot of people was confused, and that's why I think it didn't go as smooth as possible. And a lot of the things that I was doing on the Bars album was before its time. A lot of the things that I was talking about with ratting and people not carrying it a certain way is happening now. But now people seeing rappers doing it as we speak, so they understand what I'm saying. But I said this 10, 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But people just starting to understand the things that I've been saying. So
yeah, Cass. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands of dollars you missed out on by being taken into custody while your album was out. all the performances and the appearances you were going to get for I'm a Hustler. They just drained that. 8 months, that's a lot of appearances you were going to do. Like you said, before you even knew you had a warrant, you were on the road in different cities doing different things. So it really stalled out your career, man. But I'm glad we could talk about it here together. So in the future, when we do interviews, we can move on to the new stories, to the new projects. You know, I just feel like it's important that we cover the history that, like you said, a lot of people might not know because they didn't have the direct contact to get the information back then.
For sure.
And that's why I do this shit, Cass, because when I was younger, man, when 2008, 2007, 2005, I didn't get enough information on my artists, you know, the artists that I was interested in. So I was like, I want to make an impression on the game so people aren't out there feeling the same way that I was feeling.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I appreciate you for doing this interview, bro.
And to bring the facts to the streets, man. That's why I be tapping in with you every time you reach out.
Appreciate you, man.